So, overcoming isometrics, one of the most efficient and in many ways effective means of building brute strength in a simple, straightforward format. But aside from the strength training, how effective are we talking about this stuff being for those who are interested in burning fat and losing weight? Well, like all forms of exercise and training, there's two answers to that. One, of course, it's extremely effective and very, very versatile for achieving the first objective. And for the last, don't worry about it, it barely does anything. Because first and foremost, we got to recognize that there is no such thing as any type of exercise or training that directly stimulates weight loss, because that's really what we're after. We don't care so much about burning fat. We want to get leaner and have less body fat. And of course, that depends on a lot of various factors that influence your total calorie balance. Exercise is certainly an influence to your total caloric expenditure. However, nothing you do in any form of exercise or training can control your weight because it doesn't fully control your caloric balance. However, like all forms of training, we're looking at something that certainly can and will burn calories and burn fat, because everything does that, and everything is an effective way to get your rate of caloric expenditure to speed up, because that's really what exercise does. Nothing directly makes your body burn fat. It's just taking that process that's already happening completely on autopilot and speeding it up. And second is, a lot of times we may look at this and like, well, yeah, with the high intensity that we're working at, are we burning more carbohydrate and sugar, like the glycogen in the muscles, or fat? And to that I always say, don't worry about it. Like, when it comes to overall weight loss, it's not really that important whether or not you're burning fat or burning carbohydrates. In fact, a lot of times we can find a lot of benefit in fat loss and in health in general by burning more carbohydrate. The book Strong Medicine goes into that in much more detail. But we're really missing the most important factor here, because a lot of times we get too focused on what the body's doing or what's happening in the acute sense of during the exercise or during the workout. And in reality, we want to be taking a much longer perspective for how potentially beneficial isometric training can be for helping you get leaner. Because ultimately, strength training in general burns a relatively low amount of total fat or total carbs or total calories. And that's just simply because you don't spend a whole lot of time actually doing it. During an entire hour-long workout, you may actually be physically exerting your muscles to a high degree for a relatively short period of time. And while intensity is certainly one of the most important variables in how much you burn, time is by far the most important variable. Because unfortunately, the human body, we just don't burn a lot of fat or calories very quickly. So the only way we stand any chance at burning a significant amount of fat and calories to lose a lot of weight is if we just have a lot of time being more physically active to proactively burn extra fat and calories. And it's this increase in time where strength training of all sorts, especially isometrics, can really come into play. When your muscles are stronger, it's just easier to be more active. It's easier to be active and doing things on a more frequent basis. Because if you're only working out 2-3 times a week, you're gonna burn some fat and calories, but it's probably not nearly as much as we would really like. However, if we can be active most every day of the week to some capacity, that's gonna have a much bigger influence in your overall total caloric expenditure. So you wanna think of strength as an asset for helping you lose weight, especially when it comes to the lower body. Because when your legs are stronger and more stable and more resilient and have better endurance, you're gonna be able to do a lot of other physical activity for a greater duration and intensity, like running, cycling, hiking, and just being more active on your feet rather than feeling tired and drained and exhausted, which is only going to negatively impact your long-term energy expenditure. And I know some of you are probably thinking, well, yeah, if you're building muscle has a correlation with a higher metabolic rate. So therefore, if you're building muscle with isometrics, that's going to increase your metabolism. That helps you burn more fat and calories. So of course, it's going to be effective. Sure. The whole, build muscle to increase your metabolism is one of those many things in fitness that, yes, that's technically true, But the size of that influence is still very much up to debate because it depends on your overall build, your overall metabolic rate to start with, and how much muscle you build in general. And most people just aren't going to build that much muscle over the course of their training career. So yes, it is beneficial, but I've never really put too much stock in that idea because I don't think the overall influence is going to be that impactful. So the bottom line is, of course, strength training with isometrics can certainly help you lose body fat. Does it directly cause it? Not necessarily, but that's okay because no exercise does. However, it's so worthwhile to do because it's so simple, it requires such little time and energy and investment, and it's probably one of those strength training methods that's going to give you the best return on your energy invested. Check out my favorite Overcoming Isometrics for the lower body here, as well as the general Overcoming Isometrics playlist. Tons of resources there to help you get started. Thoughts and questions down below. Thank you so much for watching. Be fit and live free.